Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coach Craig's Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video for today, Wednesday, September 27th. It's an 8-game main slate in total, so not too bad for a Wednesday overall. Not a giant slate by any means, but it's going to be a pretty interesting one. I think it's going to be one that we want to mix and match quite a bit of pitchers and then get interesting with some of our top stacks. But if you're joining me for the very first time, this is how I will be structuring today's video. We'll be going over a recap of yesterday's picks, seeing how they turned out. Obviously, we had a couple updates to the core as the night moved along. And then after that, we'll be moving over to the weather report for today. We'll take a look over on RotoWire. Any games that could be potential weather spots for today. Looks like only one at this point in time. And then we'll move over to FanDuel, talk about my core 5 picks, which will be a combination of past performance in the respective matchups and recent history as well. And then last but not least, we'll take a look at the top GPP stacks for my cheat sheet for today. That cheat sheet is 100% free. It will be up on Facebook, Twitter, and the YouTube community tab, so definitely be sure to check it out on any of those platforms as you're building out your lineups for today. If you're looking for more in-depth notes, be sure to check out the Patreon as well at patreon.com/CoachCraigSports. You'll get notable hitter versus pitcher matchups, pitchers whether I would consider them in play, a risky play, or a straight-up avoid, and then some additional stacks on some of the larger states Monday through Friday. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to the recap for yesterday's picks. So we're going to start off at the pitcher position. We went with Bailey Ober at $9,000. He got to 45 points. He was a hit. He ultimately ended up being the third overall pitcher, only behind Seth Lugo and Reed Detmers yesterday, so a really strong performance out of him. At first base, originally we had Josh Bell, but unfortunately that game did get postponed, so I did say to switch to Brandon Drury by the time that we were able to do so. He was $3,000, got to 34.9 points. He was a hit, the second overall first baseman on yesterday's slate. He would have been the top overall second baseman as well since he has multiple eligibility there. And then at second base, we went with Ketel Marte. Originally, we had Emmanuel Rivera, who had 3 home runs versus Jose Urena in the past, but he did not ultimately end up starting. Said you could switch over to Ketel Marte or Rafael Devers if you went the Marte route. $3,700, got to 31.1 points. He was a hit in the top overall second baseman on yesterday's slate, or second if you consider Brandon Drury in there as well. If you went the Rafael Devers route, $3,900. Unfortunately, we went 0 for 5 yesterday to get 0 points, so it was a little bit more unfortunate there. And then at shortstop, we had Xander Bogaerts, $3,200, got to 15.2 points, so he was a hit, and the third overall shortstop on yesterday's slate. And then last but not least, we had Juan Soto at $4,200, got to 46.9 points, a great day for him. He was a hit in the top overall outfielder on yesterday's slate. If you went with the top 5, you had about 173.1 fantasy points. So if you had 4 other good players in there, probably ended up being a great day for you overall. But with that being said, we're going to get moved over to RotoWire and the weather report for today. So at this point in time, there's really only one game that we're looking at in terms of potential rain. That's over in Minnesota. The Twins and the Athletics, 17% chance of rain there. Looks like the wind's blowing in once again. So we'll see how that game ultimately ends up playing. But it's just one that we'll monitor throughout the day. Does not look like anything major, but at the same time, things can change very much, especially in terms of weather throughout the day. So with that being said, if anything does majorly change, we'll leave it down in the comments as well as many starting laps as I can get to throughout the late afternoon and early evening. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to FanDuel and talk about my core 5 picks for today. So we're going to start off at the pitcher position. I don't think it's the strongest pitcher position overall for today. Garrett Cole's the top guy at $11,100. I think he's probably going to be pretty popular. Got decent history in the past versus Toronto. This year it's been a little bit better. Last year wasn't quite as great. I don't have full numbers there, but I do like the upside that he does present today overall. If you want to go the Pablo Lopez route versus Oakland, you could do that, but it didn't turn out too well the last time. If you look at Garrett Cole in the season in totality, averaging about 39 fantasy points per game, 14 wins, ERA of 2.75. So looks like a really strong play once again. Like I said, pretty decent history versus Toronto in the past. Then at first base, we're going to go with Garrett Cooper, kind of a pay down option here at $2,600. If you're playing Garrett Cole, you're probably playing a couple of pay down batters. If you're not playing Garrett Cole, you could look at some cheaper options at pitcher and pay up at the hitter spots as well. So a lot of different ways that we could approach today's slate overall. But in terms of Garrett Cooper, $2,600, averaging just under 8 fantasy points per game on the season. 252 average, 16 home runs, 60 RBIs on the season in totality. He is 2 for 6 for Sean Manaea, the projected starting/primary pitcher for the San Francisco Giants today. He has at least 1 hit in 4 out of his last 5 starts, which has kind of been a little bit hit or miss as of late, whether he's been started or not. But with the lefty on the mound, safe to assume that he does get the nod tonight. Then we're going to move down to his teammate Xander Bogaerts once again, $3,200. Really strong performance out of him once again last night, 283 average, 19 home runs, 55 RBIs, averaging just over 10 fantasy points per game on the season at $3,200. He has at least one hit in 10 out of his last 11 games, including 8 multi-hit games during that time span. Pretty much everything we said yesterday still applies. He is 6 for 13 with 1 home run versus Sean Manaea in his career, so it looks pretty good for him tonight once again. Then we are going to move down to our outfielders. So we have Tyrone Taylor here at $2,600, averaging about 7.5 fantasy points per game on the season in totality. Average is, right around 230 at 229, 9 home runs, 31 RBIs on the season. He is 1 for 4 with 1 home run in his career versus Zach Thompson, who is the pitcher that is supposed to be starting at least for the Cardinals today. We thought that yesterday. Did not ultimately end up being the case. They flip-flopped him and Miles Mikolas, so hopefully it's Zach Thompson once again tonight. If that changes, obviously could change this core pick, but do you like the upside that Tyrone Taylor has versus him? He's got at least 1 hit in 3 out of his last 4 starts, including a 2 home run game against the Cardinals last week as well. So do like that upside at a pretty reasonable price tag of $2,600. And then last but not least, we're going to go to Marcell Ozuna, $3,300, averaging just over 11 fantasy points per game on the season. Nice bounce back season for him overall. His average is 268 on the season, 36 home runs, 91 RBIs. Like I said, a really nice bounce back year for him. Probably going to get paid in the offseason. I do believe he's a pending free agent, if I remember correctly. And he has at least 1 hit in 7 out of his last 8 games. Only 2 of those games have been multi-hit games, though. Does have 2 home runs during that time span, though. So like the upside tonight versus Jameson Taillon, who he is 4 for 12 versus in his career. But with that being said, if you ultimately go with the 5 players that I do have listed here, you have $12,200 remaining. Just over $3,000 per player. Like I said, probably going to have to pay down at a couple spots tonight, especially if you want to pay up at other spots. Or if you pay down a pitcher, you could definitely pay up for some hitters. Definitely a good slate to get creative and kind of mix and match overall once again. But with that being said, we're going to get over to my cheat sheet and the top GPP teams to stack for today overall. At the time of this recording, my cheat sheet's not up anywhere, so just going over to Canva and looking at it, but it will be up on the YouTube community tab, Facebook, and Twitter once again, so definitely be sure to check it out on any of those places. Like I said before, if you're interested in more in-depth notes, be sure to check out the Patreon at patreon.com/CoachCraigSports as well. But with that being said, the top GPP teams that I do have to stack for today, we got the Brewers once again going against Zach Thompson since he ultimately did not end up starting yesterday. Like I said yesterday, Thompson doesn't have a lot of history versus the Brewers. Most of it's been in relief outside of the one start in his most recent start versus the Brewers. So should be a pretty favorable matchup for the Brewers. We talked about Tyrone Taylor in the core picks, has a home run versus him. Josh Donaldson also has a home run versus him in his brief history. And then we have William Contreras, who is 2 for 3 versus him in his career. But get creative with some of those Brewers stacks today. And then we have the Atlanta Braves going against Jameson Taillon. A lot of these guys have hit him really well in the past, whether it's Marcell Ozuna, Orlando Arcia, Ozzie Albies, Matt Olson. A couple different options out there. Ronald Acuna as well. So a lot of good Braves out there. If they're starting for the Braves, probably viable on tonight's slate once again. And then we have the Dodgers going against Noah Davis of the Colorado Rockies. This game's in Coors Field, probably going to be pretty popular. Not a long list of history versus Noah Davis, but do like the Dodgers once again tonight. And then we have the San Diego Padres. Been hitting the ball pretty well going against Sean Manaea, who they've hit well in the past. So like them, whether it's Juan Soto, Garrett Cooper, Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, a lot of different options from this Padres team once again tonight. But with that being said, that's pretty much what I do have in terms of the MLB DFS core picks for today in terms of the top stacks, the weather report, and the recap. If you have any other additional questions related to MLB DFS whatsoever, be sure to drop them down in the comments below and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Like I said already, if there's any major weather updates, I'll leave that down below, as well as the starting lineups as they do come out throughout the late afternoon and early evening. So you're best prepared as we do get closer to lock. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking it out for the very first time, or you have yet to do so, please consider subscribing. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we have MLB DFS Monday through Friday. Baseball season's right around the corner of ending for the regular season. The last game is October 1st for the regular season, so this will be the last week of MLB DFS. But then we have CFL DFS once a week, typically on Thursdays. And then we have NFL DFS typically once a week, typically on Saturdays as well. Also, be sure to check out Coach Goes Back to College, my little college series that I'm doing over on the Sports Affiliation channel. So check out the Sports Affiliation on YouTube, get subscribed over there, and check out that if you are interested in college football content as well. But with that being said, that's pretty much all that I do have at this point in time. Also, be sure to check out the links in the description below if you're into sports betting, prop betting, anything else like that. Price Picks, Parlay Play, and BetUS. There are promo codes and links down there. If you are a first-time depositor, you can get some pretty good rewards there too, so definitely be sure to check it out. If you have any questions about that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's on YouTube or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport. Be more than happy to help you there as well. Helps you guys out a little bit, helps me out a little bit on the side, but with that being said, that's all that I truly have at this point in time. Definitely appreciate each and every one of you tuning in, checking out this video. Hopefully you learned something. And then with that being said, I truly hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS tonight.